You've been holding it together for so long. So when the pressure builds up and builds up, it feels like you might either shut down completely or explode. But you don't have to explode. You don't have to break down to break free. You just need to feel. And let's talk about how. Hey, beautiful human. It's me, Rebecca Weiner McGregor, and welcome to another episode of Effective Immediately, the show where we talk mindset, subconscious transformation, healthy emotions, and I give you a mindset shift that you can make effective immediately. Okay, today we are talking about this very important topic that is so important, so needed, so necessary for high achieving women, because the underlying tone of the high achieving women for many women is that things have to be perfect, right? Things have to look really good on the outside, no matter what they feel like on the inside. And that is not a conscious thought. Remember, that is the work of our beautiful subconscious mind, who does not care about our happiness. It only cares if we are safe. So if we don't feel safe to feel our emotions, if we don't feel like we have enough time to feel our emotions, then we don't, and they build up. Okay, so in order to release that pent-up emotion, there's a belief that you have to explode, but that is simply not true. You don't need to explode. You simply need to feel your emotions. Okay, and that might sound like a scary prospect, right? Especially if you've put a lot of stuff away in the closet, you've put a lot of stuff back in that storage unit, and you have not felt those feelings for a long time. It feels like sometimes like, if I'm going to feel like the dam is going to break and I'm going to feel everything and let loose everything that I've never dealt with before, like the movie Frozen. And it doesn't have to be like that. Okay. In fact, feeling will actually release the pressure so that you don't have to feel like you're holding it all in all the time. Okay. I've worked with many high achieving women, and they are really holding it all together, right? You can relate. You can relate, my dear. They show up, they get things done, they manage their businesses, they manage their families, they manage their teams, and they often are managing their communities, they're managing things, sports teams, and things at their churches and all over the place, right? Lots to manage. And everything looks really good on the outside. But on the inside, that pressure is building and building and building. I had a client who was managing everything, just like I was talking about, staying in control, really good at staying in control. But over time, she felt like she was carrying this weight of everything alone. And the resentment started to build. And the resentment, I feel like, on top of all these emotions, feels like turning up the burner, right, on the pot of water that's simmering. And you turn up this feeling of resentment, feeling like you're carrying the weight of everything alone. And she didn't want to admit that she was feeling overwhelmed. She didn't want to admit that she was simmering. And she felt like if she did, that she would be weak. And Lord knows we don't want to show weakness, right? So one day, after holding it in for so long, she snapped over something small. And it was small. But it was the last straw. She'd reached boiling point. She exploded, and then after that outburst, you can imagine what she felt, right? Because you probably felt it yourself. She felt ashamed. She felt out of control. She lost trust in herself. She felt worse than ever before. This is so common because high-functioning women suppress their emotions for so long to get stuff done, to meet their goals, to take care of everybody. And this is not just a pattern that develops when you are trying to be a high achiever, right? Being a high achiever is something that starts when you're really little, when perfectionism seems to be the name of the game, and you get accolades for doing everything right. Or maybe you're the person in the family that everybody saw as the screw up. So then you started to make like you had to do everything perfectly so you could turn things around and stay safe. There are a lot of different nuances to how this can start, but the perfectionism starts really early, right? So it's like, oh, you played with the toy perfectly. You made your bed perfectly. You got all A's in your classes. You did the thing just like mom taught you. You did the thing just the way dad wanted you to. Or you started getting a lot of praise and attention in school for being the smart one, right? And things just started, just were kind of easy for you. And you really loved that praise. So you really took that on as, okay, I'm going to be the smart one. I'm going to really own being the smart one, the athletic one, the pretty one, the whatever one, right? And over time, you recognize that you have to take action. You have to keep up that appearance, right? You have to keep up the story that you're the good one, the strong one, the reliable one, the whatever one, right? And the pressure builds and builds and builds. And the emotional release doesn't have to look like an explosion. In fact, it's far more healing when we allow ourselves to feel without judgment. And I mean, noticing the feeling that's in your body without thinking, oh my gosh, is this a wrong feeling to feel? Because I'm here to tell you there are no wrong feelings to feel. Feel it, let it move on. We often think of positive emotions and negative emotions, right? But the negative emotions aren't necessarily bad feelings. Anger isn't a bad feeling. Fear isn't a bad feeling. It makes us feel bad, which is why we think of it as a negative feeling. But they are normal, everyday feelings to feel. And most people over a 10-day period will go through the whole spectrum of emotions. So it doesn't make you bad to feel angry. It doesn't make you a terrible person to feel fear, to feel rage. Feel the feeling and let it move on. Okay, so give yourself a breath. If this is coming up as something that you can relate to, maybe you've had this under control for a really long time. You push through, you stay busy, you focus on the external world, those things that you can control, right? Your team, how the house looks, how you look, how your business looks from the outside, all of that stuff, right? And these unprocessed emotions, they pile up. Anger, frustration, sadness, fear, they get buried. And then the pressure gets too much. And there's the explosion, and then there's the guilt and shame, and maybe doubt, maybe blame, and the feeling of losing composure. But that feeling, that emotional release doesn't need to be explosive, okay? You can feel your feelings, like I said, without having to have them overwhelm you. You don't have to explode to feel free. So this client I was telling you about, she felt really triggered or activated, like I like to say, and she would ignore it. And she would push it away and push it away and push it away. She never looked at where the feeling was coming from. She never looked at what the feeling might be attached to. She just felt activated and like she had to push this feeling away because there was plenty going on in her life. She didn't have time to feel it. Didn't feel safe to feel it, right? And especially if that was the way you grew up, that it wasn't safe to feel emotions, you can see where that kind of adds a little fuel to this fire too. But feeling is where the power is. I'm going to say that again. Feeling is where the power is. Just lean into that, because when we suppress emotions, we give them power over us. And when we allow ourselves to fully feel, we regain control. Even that statement feels a little freeing, doesn't it? I'm going to say it again. When we suppress emotions, we give them power over us. When we feel our feelings, we regain control. Do you want to be someone, and I ask myself these same questions as I'm asking you. Do you want to be someone who never feels their feelings, pushes them away, only lets yourself feel the good feelings, pushes away the quote unquote negative feelings, the dark feelings, the heavy feelings, and only allow themselves to feel the good feelings, and know that those feelings have such power over us, right? Knowing that if you don't feel those feelings, they're just going to sit and simmer and simmer and simmer. And we have to watch that pot, right? We have to watch those emotions. We have to make sure that we push them away, we stop them, we hide them in a closet, we move them to the storage unit, whatever we need to do. When we don't feel those feelings, we still have to attend to them. That's the trick, right? We don't realize that when we're not feeling these feelings, we still have to deal with them. We still have to move them around. We have to move them out of the way when we want to do work. We have to move them out of the way when we want to connect to someone we love. We have to move them out of the way when we're trying to manifest the next thing. When we have to move them out of the way when we're working on our vision. They don't go anywhere. We still got to deal with them, even though it looks like we don't, right? Even though it looks like, well, I've pushed them away. I'm not feeling the feeling. That's fine. But you can feel it, right? You might feel it on your chest. You might feel it in your guts. You might feel it every time that your stomach churns. You might feel it every time your mind races, the feelings that you've suppressed. And it's really common among the women that I work with, being super strong, super high achieving, right? They focus on getting things done. I had a client who really was focused on getting things done so much that she lost connection with her body. When I asked her to simply feel her frustration in a session, she was shocked by how powerful it felt. Instead of ignoring it or pushing it down, she let herself feel the frustration. She didn't act on it. She simply allowed it to exist. And in that moment, something shifted. She no longer needed to explode because she was giving herself space to process. What a gift, right? And we know that suppressed emotions can come out as anger, as rage, as physical problems, racing heart, churning guts. They can influence so much muscle tension and head pressure and heart racing and migraines and all of that stuff. They can even come out as panic attacks or anxiety. But when you give yourself the space to process, you actually don't lose control. You take control of your emotional world. The thing that I want you to remember is that feeling emotions is not weakness. It is a powerful tool of self-mastery and leadership. It's important to feel your feelings. The key to really safe emotional release is creating space for yourself to feel without judgment. You can acknowledge all sorts of feelings without judging them as bad or good or right or wrong, just looking at them, just feeling them, just letting them be. Give yourself a breath here. And I want to remind you, the more that we honor our feelings, the more we integrate them without letting them take over, without letting them be in the way, without letting them dictate our actions or thoughts. Think of emotions as messages. The more we integrate them, the more that we acknowledge that each one is telling us something important, right? It's telling us something about our needs, our desires, and our boundaries, and the places where we limit ourselves. And those places that we limit ourselves, I know we talk about this a lot, but these things aren't bad. It's data. When we notice that we're limiting ourselves in some way, when we notice that the feelings have taken over and we haven't allowed ourselves to process them, that is a signal. That's data that says, hey, get this out of the way. Feel the feelings. Learn to master your emotions. Practice. Find yourself a professional. Find someone who will help you make the subconscious shifts so that you can feel better, so you can feel lighter, so you don't have to move this stuff out of the way to do the things in your life that you're really passionate about. And even the things that you maybe aren't so passionate about, like the dishes. All right. When we focus on emotional integration in my work, I really teach you how to process your emotions in real time without guilt or shame. It's a really beautiful experience, actually. It's really sacred work. And it's about creating a safe container where emotions can be felt in a healthy, empowering way. You do not have to wait for a blow up to release your emotions. You get to feel them safely. You get to feel them with intention and without the chaos or guilt. Just think about that for a moment, especially if you've been that simmering pot that reaches boiling point, right? If you've been that person who has the occasional blow up, I want you to give yourself a lot of love. This does not mean you're bad, right? It's just an indicator. It's just a signal that it's time to do something about it so that you don't have to deal with those feelings or the after effects and all those feelings as well. Okay, so you're ready for your mindset shift of the week. Give yourself a breath. Pause if you want to close your eyes. If you're safe to close your eyes, if it feels right, do so. Take a deep breath in and take a deep breath out. Take a nice exhale. Give yourself a nice exhale. And always remember the power of the deep breath is actually on the exhale. Not just taking a big gulp of air, but letting that long exhale come out be a signal to your body that you're safe. And now as you take your next inhale, just fill up your lungs and hold it for a second. And as you exhale, just allow yourself to soften. Notice that your shoulders soften a little bit. Maybe that tight feeling you felt in your buns loosens a little bit. And repeat after me in your mind or out loud. I give myself permission to feel fully. I give myself permission to feel fully. Emotions are a natural part of who I am. Emotions are a natural part of who I am. I can feel without losing control. I can feel without losing control. I am safe in my emotions. I am safe in my emotions. If you need to, write these down, watch this again, listen to this again. Give yourself so much love here. Notice how your body feels lighter with that understanding. You've just given yourself permission to feel. And in doing so, you have shifted your energy. That is how fast this works. So if this resonated with you, please get in touch with me. You can use callwithrebecca.com to schedule a consultation. You can DM me most places where you see this. And let's talk about where you are now, where you want to be. And I'll show you how we can bridge the gap quickly so that you can feel the way that you want to feel. So you can do the things that you're passionate about. All right, have a beautiful week. Take good care of yourself, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.